Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5. Welcome to Game Week, Monday, August 26, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Dan Rubin. That's right, we made it, my friends. 5 days away from Ohio State's opener. Dan and I each came up with 5 questions/predictions we're going to throw out there. And a lot of fun stuff to get into. The Buckeyes landed an offensive line commit over the weekend. Javon McFadden. He's a low 4-star according to the composite, high 3-star according to 24/7 Sports in-house rankings, but probably an underrated kid. So we'll talk about all that good stuff. We'll take some questions from you guys. Before we get to all of that, I'll let you guys know about our friends at Manscaped and a great deal you guys can get. Fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be a one-and-done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trimmed from 12 to 6. Introducing the Beard and Balls Bundle, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Head and the Beard Hedger, a trimmer for the moneymaker and another for the boys downstairs. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Bucknuts at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Bucknuts at manscaped.com. No more juggling multiple tools or dealing with subpar results, just efficient, effective grooming wherever you need it. And might I add, if you're on the run, you might even need to trim your beard in the car. Handyman, it's a good thing to take with you. I'm going to throw that in there as well. I really like the handyman. All right. Speaking of a handyman, Dan Rubin, always good to see you on a Monday. Really good to see you on a game week Monday. All right, let's make some predictions. Let's just start right at the top. Okay, I'll answer these, and you can chime in if you'd like to as well. Number 1, barring injury, Tegra Tshabola will start every game at right guard for the Buckeyes this year. I'm going to say yes.
That brings me great joy if it happens. We've talked about this. If you were going to bring someone to dinner to hang out with your family and you wanted to make a nice impression with a sweetheart, it would be Tegra. I hesitate to use the word sweetheart. Nicest kid I met at any of the foundation events, but also maybe the biggest. So, and he's from Ohio, right down the street here. So that would be the best case scenario, I think, for the team. Also, because I think his upside's probably the highest if you were to kind of figure all that out. So that would be tremendous. I support 100%.
All right, the next one that I jotted down here, we'll get to Dan has 5 as well that he's going to do. All right. What postseason awards will Will Howard win? Post-regular season. So we're talking like all Big Ten. Where's he going to be on the all Big Ten list, if at all? Where's he going to be on the All-American list, if at all? Is he going to be a finalist for the Heisman? Might he win the Heisman? Does that sound like an Ohio State homer question to even ask that? Well, he's got like the 4th lowest odds to win the Heisman. So he's definitely in the conversation. Okay, here, I'm gonna take a stab at this. And this is a semi-bold statement. I'm going to go first team all Big Ten. And that's bold because everybody's picking Dylan Gabriel. And I get it. And I think it's really, really close. And Drew Aller, a lot of people are picking Drew Aller second, Will Howard third team. Okay, I get that. But I think Will Howard's going to be first team all Big Ten. And initially I was not going to predict that he'll be a Heisman finalist. I'll say he'll be in New York but won't win the award. So I'm going first team all Big Ten, Heisman finalist. And so he'll be on one of the All-American teams, but not first team, probably not second team, maybe like third team All-American, something like that. Honorable mention All-American, but first team All-Big Ten, probably third team All-American. So that's my prediction for Will Howard. Any comments on that, Dan Rubin?
Yes, sure. Comments, Dave. Come on, always. So Dave and I participated in the Bucknuts staff roundtable on Friday. I think it went Friday or Saturday morning. And made a bunch of predictions. So what I'm doing today is kind of basing my predictions for today and what we're talking about as if, what we said in that roundtable, at least comes close to being true. And I predicted, for those who didn't see it, shocker, not rational observer, undefeated national championship. So when you do that, you have to think to yourself, guess what team would get most of the awards if they finish the season undefeated? That would be Ohio State. So you're going to be in the mix for every major award. In the roundtable, I did predict that I think Will Howard will be the MVP of the offense. I think that's the layup answer. I don't think the percentages are above 50% if you were betting. I just think there are so many names, so many good dudes that you may spread the accolades over many people. And then when you get into the Heisman discussion, and I have a Heisman prediction coming later that's a long shot, and I kind of go over a scenario by which it may take place. The field is, I don't want to use the term, I don't mean negative. It's very weak in terms of having a favorite. There's no Reggie Bush sitting out there. There's no guy returning who was a major, candidate last year. Dylan Gabriel gets a lot of credit. This is his third school, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
He's like 5'11". A 5'11" quarterback that's been to 3 schools, to me, should not be the Heisman favorite. So I think we're in good shape regardless. I could see Will Howard getting a lot of credit for what goes on here. And I don't think any of your predictions are off the mark at all.
All right, next one I jotted down. Who is going to lead this team in rushing, and how many rushing yards are they going to have, roughly? If we were doing a contest, let's say you got to be within 99 yards, let's say. You got to be within 99. Maybe I'm being a little too liberal there. Maybe I should say you got to be within 49 or something. All right, I'm going to go Quinshon Judkins will lead this team in rushing this year. And now I'm including postseason. We don't know how many games that entails.
Okay.
Could be as many as 17, could be as little as 13. I'm confident that they're going to play in a bowl game. I think they're going to play in the Big Ten championship game. I think they're going to play in 3 CFP games. So I get them playing in 16 total games this year. All right. So I got Quinshon Judkins fully, he's going to be sharing the wealth with Travion. They're going to be throwing the ball as well. They're going to get those guys out of games when there's blowouts. But I think he's going to be right around 1,600 rushing yards this year because of the amount of games they're going to play. I almost went a little lower than that, but because I think they're going to play in 16 games, I'm going to be pretty simple about it. I'm going to go 1,600 rushing yards for Quinshon Judkins. And nothing against Travion. I love that we have both of them, but someone's got to lead the team in rushing, and I think it's going to be Quinshon. I also won't be surprised if he's the one that stays healthy all year. And Trey might get banged up. So that's what I think about him now. It's good living, Dan, when you got those guys as your top 2 running backs, obviously.
Agreed. That's a ton of yards, man. It's going to take me a while to get my mind around the statistics for a 17-game season. You know what I mean? Those are going to start to look like, shocker, NFL stats.
Right.
I do think Quinshon will be the leading rusher for the reasons you said. He's just proven to be the most durable. But it wouldn't surprise me if Travion was the leading rusher. But I would go with, if I had to guess, I would have come in very close to what you said. I would have said Quinshon 1,500 probably. And that's, again, based on our predictions, which is, undefeated, plenty of games. Boy, that's a long schedule.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. It really is. Okay.
That's really uncharted waters, man. I'm telling you, that really is uncharted. That might be the thing we're talking about. Not enough because it's not like that sexy, but in the long run, maybe one of the major determining factors of the season is just the gauntlet you can get through for the first time. No one's done it. Anyone who says they know how to do it with a college player is fibbing. They've never done it.
Yeah, depth is paramount this year. It's a game of attrition, as we all know. It's going to be that on steroids this year. All right. Fourth one I jotted down. Who's going to lead the Buckeyes in sacks? How many are they going to have? You have to get within a half a sack to get it full credit. Maybe we'll say you have to get within 1. I'm going to go with, last year, Jack Sawyer led this team with 6.5 sacks. That was in 13 games. I think he's going to be a little better this year, and they're going to play in more games. I'm going to say Jack Sawyer is going to lead this team, and he's going to have 10.5 sacks. Bam.
I like that pick. I think it'd be I'd have a hard time picking anyone other than Sawyer. Also because now it could have been just a function of the schedule or whatever, but I thought Jack was playing his best football since he got here. I think everyone thinks that. The last kind of maybe 6 weeks of the season last year, I'm going to say the light had come on. He's been here forever, but I just thought it all kind of come together for him. So if he could pick up where he left off, I could see him getting in 17 games. I could see him getting 12 sacks.
Hopefully not. Well, I almost said hopefully
16.
not 17. No, hopefully 17, because that means they would definitely be in the national championship game.
Yeah.
That would also mean that they got to the Big Ten championship game, lost the Big Ten championship game, get to host a game, but they wouldn't get a bye, and then would have to win 4 games to win the national championship. Yeah, if they're in despite that, if they're in the national championship game, sign me up for that. All right. Speaking of the CFP and the national championship, by the way, I do have Ohio State winning the national championship, but we already discussed that on our staff roundtable. Okay. I'm going to pick the 12 teams that are going to make the college football playoff. So let's start with the champs of the Power 4 conferences. Is this cheating now that Florida State, they're not completely off the table, but man, I was making fun of week 0, how week 0 stands for 0 good games. Mea culpa. Week 0 delivered, man. You got Georgia Tech knocking off Florida State. All right, but here we go. So I have the 4 Power 4 champions. It's really a Power 2, but whatever. The Power 4, all of these will get a bye. Ohio State, Georgia, Utah, and Miami. I'll go Miami Hurricanes. Yes, for the 20th straight year. This is the year Miami is back. Somebody's got to win the ACC. So those are my 4 buys. And then I'll go in order here. Then I've got Oregon 5th. I've got Bama, Texas, Notre Dame. He's like, Notre Dame? I mean, look at their schedule. They beat Texas A&M in the opener, and I think they will. It's almost like a sure bet that they're going to get in. 10-2, Notre Dame gets in. And I like their quarterback. They don't have to worry about playing like a Big Ten or SEC gauntlet schedule. If they can get and Texas A&M's good. I do like Texas A&M's new coach, Elko, and it's a tough place to play, as we all know, Texas A&M. But if the Domers win that one, they're in. Okay, I've got Ole Miss in. Penn State. These are teams that have to play on the road first week. Ole Miss, Penn State, Iowa, have them sneaking in because of their schedule. And then I have Memphis as your group of 5. On the outside, barely looking in, I have LSU, Missouri, Clemson, and USC. There you go. What do you think?
I like that. I don't have a real strong vibe this year about – I usually have like 2 or 3 sleepers. Like when I say sleeper, I mean maybe a team who you think we ranked 6 to 15 who is going to like turn the corner. I don't have it. I can't get into Ole Miss. There's something in my DNA that I have to see Ole Miss do it on a real stage, get punched in the face and like be tough and do it consistently. Talent-wise, they are loaded. Go look at Ole Miss's roster has some real NFL studs on there, man.
Good quarterback too.
Yeah, I mean, they have a chance. I just have a hard time taking them seriously.
With Lane, right? It's because of Lane, right?
It is. And listen,
right.
He's on the all press conference team. I'll stop and watch a Lane Kiffin press conference every now and then just for ha-has.
Right.
But I there's a certain.
This is just to make the playoffs, though. This is just to make.
I get it. I get it.
I have Ole Miss sneaking in. Well, no, yeah, I have them as the 9 seed, so they would then play the 8 seed. That'd be interesting. I have Ole Miss. I didn't realize this. I have Ole Miss traveling to South Bend to play Notre Dame in December in the first round. That'll be cool if that happens.
Yeah, here's another thing. We're going to get some incredible match. For people who didn't like I'll guarantee you this. No one will be complaining about the playoff once the season's over. There are going to be so many great games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like in the NCAA tournament, it's the Elite 8 game between like Kansas State and Arizona that you end up remembering. You know what I mean? So This is going to be like you just said, Ole Miss at Notre Dame. Dude, in the cold, that's a super sexy matchup, man. So no, I'm into it. I don't have a great vibe on the playoffs, though. I'll be honest with that.
As long as Ohio State wins, that's all we care about.
Well, I have a great vibe on that. They're going to win.
We also care about Mando, and Dan's going to give his 5 in just a moment. We love Mando. Seriously, I especially weeks like this where it's going to be like 100 degrees every day in here, and I'm in Columbus, Dan's in Dayton. It's going to be ridiculous every day.
Yeah, this week
is nice. Little Mando. Right. This is the Invisible Cream deodorant. It smells fantastic, and I just have this in my bag that I take, my laptop bag, and have it with me. Mando whole body deodorant will be your new best friend. Mando is clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours, safe for the whole body, pits, package, feet, and everywhere in between. Stop odor before it starts. It is American made, USA. It's available in 4 cologne quality scents. Bourbon leather is my favorite. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, which is what this is, the cream tube deodorant. 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes and free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com. SHOPMANDO.com. Again, make sure you use code Bucknuts. Shopmando.com. All right, Mr. Rubin, you are up. I'm going to hear your 5.
Okay, so like I said before, after we did the roundtable predictions, I'm trying to kind of like pitch it forward. So if you haven't checked out the roundtable, go ahead and do that. Just for reference, I had Ohio State going undefeated. I think I was the only one, by the way, that predicted them to go undefeated and win the national championship.
I had them winning the national championship, but dropping a game in the regular season. I don't know. I didn't say I don't know which one. I said I know it won't be the last regular season game, and it won't cost them, obviously. So, yeah.
I mean, I like to do that just so that I don't really tempt the fate gods too much, but I couldn't do it. I just think they're the best team. So then you're getting into the case of, okay, if you've made all these predictions, then where do you take it from there? And one is, and I'm kind of sensing this, the person who's going to get the most credit for Ohio State doing what they're going to do is Chip Kelly. I can kind of feel it building. I think I have a whole theory on recency bias being worse than it's ever been across the board in everything these days. But people are going to remember Ohio State not being able to run the ball, and they haven't seen the quarterback run the ball in several years through no fault or through no design by Chip Kelly. But they're going to see Ohio State's offense kicking tail. They're going to see these interesting new plays that they haven't seen in a while where guys are running wide open. Go look at some of Chip Kelly's highlights. No one gets people in space like Chip Kelly to the point where we were like, holy cow, the defensive coordinator did not know it was coming on that play. So you have that. And then I do think about midway through the season, every team that's doing poorly, they're going to talk about Chip Kelly becoming the head coach of that team. Now, I don't think he's going to eventually do it, but he's going to become the hottest name in terms of credit. And you can already also feel it. Even people who were negative about Chip Kelly, and by the way, before he took the job at Ohio State, he got a lot of negativity in the press. There were the former pro guys who came out and took shots at him, those classy dudes who are just sharp journalists now. Like, I'm not saying their names. They're terrible. So I think Chip's going to have the ultimate rebound in terms of like Q rating. People are just going to remember him whipping tail with Mariota and the likes, and then see this and be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. That'll be great. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably somebody you're alluding to. I'll say his name, Desmond Howard, in case people are wondering if he's still an idiot. He's like, yeah, I think he's the coach in waiting there at Ohio State. Now, Desmond's predicting it's going to go south for Ryan Day, but then they're going to turn around and fire Ryan Day and promote from within after it goes south. Really?
His best friend.
Like, what an idiot. Anyway, yeah, I could see Chip Kelly being a hot commodity. I also think he probably told, unless something crazy happens, I think he probably told Ryan, who they're very, very, very close, as we all know, that he's going to be here for at least 2 years. That's my guess. But I agree with everything you said, though. He'll be a hot commodity. He'll probably be like, that's cool. I like, just coaching ball and being the offensive coordinator. And then he'll probably want to go back to being a head coach eventually. But I think he's going to be here for 2 years. Maybe longer than that. But I'll be surprised if he's one and done. Unless they win the national title and then he gets some type of, perfect job offer, something like that. Everything's off the table. They win the national title, everything's off the table. Like, who even cares at that point?
I know, but I'm basing it on that because I do think they're going to win the national title.
I guess I predicted them to win the national title too. So I could see him being, even then, I think if I had to guess, he'll be here 2 years. But then it definitely wouldn't surprise me.
Look, if they win the national title and do it impressively, NFL teams are going to be coming for Ryan Day too. So anything could happen if that takes place. Those are what we called first world problems. We'll deal with those when we get there. My second prediction, the third leading rusher on the team will be Will Howard. This is an interesting situation to me because if you have your classic 1-2-3 running back setup, you got your main guy, you got your backup, and you got your kind of your break glass when you need guy. Normally, let's say, and Ohio State, I think it's fair to assume, just take out the games you know are going to be competitive. They're going to have a big lead in a lot of games. They always do. So normally that would be like your second running backs. He would take over kind of like early in the second half, and he's like the man for the rest of the game. Except now, I don't want that to be Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson because they're kind of 1 and 1A. You're kind of protecting the both of them. Well, then you skip down to James Peoples, and I think he's going to do well. I just think that the running of Will Howard is going to alter everything to the point where I think he's going to have more yards than Peoples. But this to me is very, very interesting. Now, look, we're talking about being up 45-0 in a game against a team that really doesn't matter. So I get it. In the grand scheme, it may not mean that much. But I do find it interesting how to juggle 2 number 1 running backs.
I love this question. It's going to be super close. Super close. Like we did this. I did these fictitious prop bets for the Sunday show I do here in Columbus. And I set the over-under for James Peoples rushing yards at 350.5 for the season. 350.5. And I picked him going over. I didn't realize when I did that. You know how many yards Will Howard had last year? 351. How about that? 351 rushing yards. Okay, now here's why I'm going to pick Peoples, because I think it's going to be somewhat similar with Will Howard. It's really not fair that college does it this way, Dan. But what's up, Brad? But because college counts sacks against your rushing yards if you're a quarterback, which is stupid. They do it that way, but they do. So we're being technical here. I think Peoples, it'll be really close, but Peoples will have. I should just mute Dan's. Make sure you guys remember me that I actually unmute Dan. If you see Dan whispering, he's not whispering. It means I forgot to take him off mute. But I really think that Peoples will have. It's going to be super close. I have Peoples just over 350, and I have Will Howard right around 350. So I think it's going to be really close. What up, Brad? I got Dan.
Sorry, guys.
That's good. No, there's no apologies if we see dogs. Everybody loves Brad. Look at the comments. Everybody's like, what's up, Brad?
I apologize. It's frustrating. My family's, my wife and daughter are en route in the air. No, I was not. I got sweatpants on. Good call there. Hey, look. That would not be a Butch Helmick. He says Dan was walking around in his whitey tighties. Not today, but have I done this show in my underwear before? You may never know. Chances are good. All right. All right. Here's my third one. And I'm going to involve the great Dave Biddle on this. If you read the roundtable, we were asked to give a prediction on defensive MVP. And my answer was literally chalk Caleb Downs. Dave voted for Sonny Styles, and it brought me great joy. I was glad someone had the balls to do that because I think we all have had expectations like that. So my prediction is this. If your roundtable prediction is accurate, Sonny Styles is defensive MVP. He will be a top 50 draft pick. And I'm being conservative because think about what you're saying there. On this team, and I am telling you something, I went and did this last night. Go look at the 2 deep, 3 deep on defense. It may be better than it ever has been. The defensive line is 12 deep. Go look at it. The third team defensive line has like Edric Houston, Mitchell Melton, Tywone Malone, and someone else. That is outlandish, dude.
Jason Moore. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, when you look at the depth charts next to each other, and I'm not trying to be negative about the offense, the defensive line jumps out how deep it is. And then the secondary, it's incredible. So very impressive. So we're saying Sonny Styles is going to be the MVP of a defense that wins the national championship and is likely the number 1 defense in the country. Number 2 last year and better. That means Sonny Styles is going to be playing like Sonny Styles, that everything's going to come together. I got all day for that. And if he's that guy, he's a lock solid. I would be even willing to say first round if he's the MVP of the defense, but he will be a top 50 pick. Hollywood Hager, Sonny has to show and prove. I'll have to see it first. I get that, but this is a prediction show. Dave is saying that he will be the MVP. If he's the MVP, this will happen.
I agree with you. If he's the MVP, he will be a top 50 pick. And here's why I picked Sonny. It was a tough one because I juggled a lot of guys, including, of course, Caleb Downs, Denzel Burke, somebody I considered. Sawyer, JT, Tyleek, all those guys I considered. Here's why. CJ Hicks to me is a heck of a player and is ready to start right now. CJ Hicks is not going to start because Sonny Styles looks great. Okay. And CJ's still going to play a lot. That tells me a lot right there. Sonny has found his home at linebacker. He was, a little miscast, even though he pretty much played in the box last year. And there's something that this is used a lot in fantasy football, but I think it applies here. It's called the post-hype breakout. Everybody will say, okay, this guy's going to break out this year. And then he doesn't. And people don't really forget about him, but kind of put him on the back burner. I feel like people are doing that a little bit with Sonny. Everybody predicted Sonny was going to be like an All-American last year, as a sophomore. Didn't materialize. Now they're like, I don't know about Sonny Styles now. It's like Sonny Styles is going to have a huge year. Now, is he going to be the MVP of this defense? I don't know. I had to pick somebody. There's going to be about 6 guys in the mix. They stay healthy. He'll be one of them, and I picked Sonny. So there you go. A couple reasons. I mean, if he's able to beat out CJ Hicks, which I think he has, that tells me a lot. And just the way he looks. He's 6'4", 235, and I think now as a junior. Because, guys, if he's ever going to break out, Sonny Styles is going to break out as a superstar. I don't think it's going to be next year as a senior. It obviously wasn't last year. I think we're going to look back on it. If he breaks out as a star, we're going to say it was his junior year, his 3rd year. So I think it's going to be this year. So, but yeah, I totally agree. If I happen to be right, which I probably won't, then he'll definitely be a top 50 pick. So
that's borderline the best case scenario for the team. If I were going to pick someone, because you don't get MVP of the defense like this unless you're making big plays. And he's a splash play guy. I'm telling you, go watch the tape. When Sonny hits you, it's different. Mm-hmm. You go down immediately. I know that he has maybe not to this point been the superhero we all expect was transferring over from the local high school, but it's coming. All right, now here's the one that's probably going to get the most crap, but I have an issue. I have a way to structure it. Excuse me. This is my long shot Heisman Vegas bet, and it's on Jeremiah Smith. Okay, now
freshman wide receiver winning the Heisman.
Okay, now here's how. One, like I said before, weakest field I maybe have ever seen. Dylan Gabriel being the number 1 guy when he's not even a guaranteed pro. Come on, man. I don't see that. There's no litany of quarterbacks out there that everyone's jockeying for. There's no blow it for Beck or anything like that coming, like the Cooper Flag stuff in the NBA. That's just not happening. Also, Ohio State is going to be, as we know, arguably the most high-profile team in the country. Dave even said it. CBS Game of the Week to start the season, Ohio State versus Mac Power Akron, meaning they just won Ohio State on TV. He has enough name recognition that you're going to be wanting to see something out of him when the game starts, okay? And then we go back to the fact that they're going to be in all these huge games. Let's say he stars against Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. I don't think that's so outlandish either. He makes 3 or 4 big plays in each game. And then everybody's statistics are kind of the same, like we talked about. People are going to be sharing awards. And eventually they just look at the teams and say, all right, who's the best player? And he has just shown he's the best player. Now, I realize it's a long shot, but if we're doing long shots, that's mine. Jeremiah Smith wins the Heisman Trophy. It's a weird season anyway, and I realize it's a long shot. So it's a prediction for you to put a long shot bet in. This is not me saying if, Brad's life depended on it, I would choose him to win the Heisman. I would not. I would probably go with Jalen Milroe, as I said in the Bucknuts prediction, because DeBoer has done nice work with quarterbacks, and that guy's got some real talent. But that's my long shot prediction, and I realize it's completely off the board, but then again, it wouldn't be a long shot if it wasn't. Your thoughts?
I had picked Emeka Egbuka to lead this team in receiving yards, and I think it's almost a toss-up for touchdowns. But I pick Emeka to lead the team in touchdowns, receiving touchdowns as well. So if that happens, obviously the Jeremiah Smith's not going to win the Heisman if he doesn't lead his own team in receiving yards. So but that's why it's a long shot. So I'll disagree with you there, but that's why he's like 100-1 or maybe more than that to win the Heisman.
But let's see a scenario. What if there's a scenario where they go to Michigan and he has like 3 catches for 100, or they play Michigan, they host them, and he had 3 catches for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's when you say that out loud about Jeremiah Smith, you didn't shake your head. That didn't catch you nah, that's never going to happen. It's like, that could happen. So what if that could happens 3 or 4 times in big games on national TV? I mean, Ohio State is really set up to do this in terms of a PR standpoint. So I realize it's completely off. See, look, who's my guy there? $100 on get you $10K. That's perfect. I love that. Someone put the 100 down for me, and we'll split it. I promise you get half. All right, Dave. Here's my 5th one. This is a non-Ohio State prediction.
Okay.
And it's actually kind of about the NFL and kind of about the future. Marvin Harrison will be the #1 fantasy wide receiver 3 weeks into the season, and it won't change for about 5 years. He'll be the no-brainer #1 guy going forward. And here's why. One, I saw him interviewed the other day. One of the sharpest cats you'll ever see. Now, he doesn't talk a lot to the media. I saw him do kind of like a podcast on the field with some guys from the other team, and he was tremendous, dude.
He wasn't doing a podcast with Fanatics, was he?
Don't know. Dave's getting checked somewhere. He was great. Secondly, that team does not have much going for it except Marvin Harrison and Kyler, and they're going to want to pub that. So
and Paris Johnson Jr.
Truth. That's one of the reasons he'll have a chance to get the ball off.
I know you're talking about skill position guys.
And then Zay Jones just got hurt. I don't know if you saw that. Now they're talking to the other guy's going to be the second receiver. So I just feel Marvin Harrison is going to be the fantasy stud, no-brainer #1 overall pick, and then he'll be the most productive receiver in the NFL this year fantasy-wise. And you are a fantasy guru.
Yes, I'll have to disagree with you. I hope you're right. He's going to be on the short list, but until somebody proves it, Tyreek Hill to me is going to be #1. I'm not a huge Tua guy, but my gosh. And Mike, is it McDaniel? I always get his name wrong. Is it Mike McDaniel?
I think it is.
He's a kind of a weird, quirky guy.
Is he?
But man, he can draw up some really good plays. And I don't think he's a guy. He's not going to be a coach that's going to if the game's on the line in the fourth quarter in the playoffs, is going to be a guy that's going to probably get the job done. It's a lot of misdirection stuff that and a lot of play action where if they have to throw, they're in trouble. But man, Tyreek Hill, he's the top wide receiver off the board in pretty much every fantasy draft. I'd have to give it to him. But man, I hope you're right. And I'm not a big Tua guy, but I still think he's probably better than Kyler Murray. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
You're telling me tomorrow. Hold on a sec. Tomorrow, you get a choice: Kyler or Tua for the Bengals. You're not choosing Tua, dude.
You're probably right. I'm not. Here's the thing. Here's what's changed about Tua is now he's coached up more. He looked like he was going to be almost like a pseudo bust to me, and he's blaming it on Brian. He's blaming it on Brian Flores. Maybe he's right. He certainly is flourishing. He's flourished the last couple of years. But look who he's throwing to. He doesn't just have Tyreek Hill. He's got Waddle. And again, this is a really, really well-designed offense. Again, it's a regular season offense, but still. Yeah, you're right. If I had to pick, first of all, I wouldn't want either one of those two as my franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. If I had to pick one of the two, it would be Kyler. You're right.
And I'm not a fan of either, really, but Kyler, he's more durable. I mean, Tua, there's something about Tua. He's just not big enough for me. Every time he gets hit, you got to hold your breath. What about that question, Dave? Good Lord.
I'm the wrong one to ask any question about that. I'm a Joe Burrow stan.
Is that a fantasy question or real life?
I'm a Joe Burrow stan, and I'm proud of it.
Is that a real life question, though, Dave, or is he asking fantasy-wise?
He's probably asking fantasy.
Oh, okay.
He said, who would you start? He probably has both of them in fantasy. And I will say this, Christopher, it's about fantasy. It probably depends on the opponent. If the Bengals are playing a real tough opponent, the Colts are playing a weak opponent, maybe throw Richardson in there. It depends. But generally speaking, and a lot of people are picking Richardson over Burrow this year because of his running ability. I'm definitely taking Burrow, man. I think Burrow's going to have a huge year. Now, he's got to stay healthy, as we all know. But health, so does Anthony Richardson, who missed pretty much all of last year. Yes, some people are saying Richardson all day in fantasy. Some people are saying Burrow, no question. Yeah, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask. I love Joe Burrow. But all right, Dan, let's talk about I do have an ad read to finish the show. But before we do that, Javon McFadden is a Buckeye. By the way, that was a lot of fun stuff with the 5 questions we each came up with. That was a good idea on your part. And Javon McFadden is a Buckeye. They now have 3 offensive linemen in this 2025 class. kid from the DMV. Your thoughts on the Buckeyes landing Javon McFadden?
Yeah, I know there was some concern about his Final Four, but I think you need to put it in context. His Final Four was Ohio State, Maryland, Colorado, and South Carolina. Look, if this was 5 years ago and that was his Final Four, I would be a torchbearer like the rest of those who are against it. But keep this in mind. Ohio State is what it is. Maryland is the hometown school. Maryland is going to be more in the mix now that there's NIL than they were in the past. So for those who don't know, Maryland is the school closest to the DMV when it comes to football or a major Division I program. Virginia is in Charlottesville, which is about an hour and a half away. So when you're talking a local team, if you wanted to go see someone, it's Maryland. Kids don't grow up in D.C. dreaming of playing for Maryland. They just don't. Basketball, yes, it's a basketball school. Even then, it's a challenge, believe me. But because of the NIL now, and Mike Loxley, who is a known recruiter, they are in much better shape. And it's a very talented area. I know I pimp it a lot, but there's just a ton of good players there. This is a good thing for Ohio State, by the way, because guess who used to own the DMV? Penn State.
Larry Johnson. Oh, yeah. Penn State.
Larry Johnson. He owned it. So,
right.
And then he passed that on, and then you go from there. Like Navarro Bowman went to Penn State. For example, the good guy, Joe Hayden, went to Florida. Chase Young went to Ohio State. Caleb Williams is from Gonzaga in the city. He never considered Maryland. Now, had it be coming around now, and they could go to Caleb Williams and take their number one donor who owns Under Armour and say, hey, we'll give you X million dollars. Who knows? But they'd be in the mix. Colorado, you know why they're in the mix. Dion has expanded their recruiting, and he gets them in the Final Four of a lot of guys. I don't know how many he'll get. And then South Carolina, we don't need to know what South Carolina's done in the DMV. There is someone on South Carolina's staff who has an in with the DMV. Nicholas Harbor, the freakish track star, the player of the year, Dylan something, I can't remember his name, that we missed out on. So South Carolina has a hook. So don't be concerned about that. Those four teams. And Georgia had offered, everybody had offered this kid. He's a stud, just not quite as big, tall maybe, for the tackle position. Be a very good interior player. Definitely a solid pickup. Look, they need to add tackles. My prediction that I didn't use was they're going to have to replace 2.5 guys on the offensive line next year. Give me the over-under, what you would choose. Because right now, I'd go with the under, but it might be 3.
Oh, it'll be great. Basically, is Simmons going to go pro?
But I mean, like 3 starters that aren't on the team.
Oh, I got you.
You're going to need 2.
Are they going to?
Maybe.
Are they going to get 3 guys from the portal that are going to start? I'd go under. I like how we're finishing the show with an extra prediction.
I know, but we got, because of the one I didn't use. We got 2 on there now. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But they were in different years. To have 3 in 1 year that'd be
something. The line.
That'd be something. Dion would say that's not nearly enough. Dion brought in 9.
I know.
That's not.
I don't think it'll happen.
It's not going to work out well for Colorado, but right.
So that's where I am on that. And McFadden, look, if you put this time in on a guy, we have to. I get that Justin Fry is taking it on the chin, and he is. Believe me. Any nutter knows this who's been around. I still am in favor of the pickup. Riverdale Baptist plays a decent schedule. He's a very solid player.
I like it a lot. So bring him on. I think he's a little underrated. Great stuff from Dan Rubin. Programming note, Ryan Day tomorrow, every week from now on. Ryan Day at noon. Lock it down. Every Tuesday at noon, Ryan Day press conferences. And then we usually get Jim Knowles every Tuesday as well during the season. That will be the case tomorrow. So Ryan Day followed by Jim Knowles. And this is cool. Then Will Howard is going to step up to the podium there in the team room. So that'll be fun. We're getting Ryan Day, Jim Knowles, Will Howard after practice tomorrow. Thanks to Dan Rubin. Thanks to all of you. Men, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Joy Mode. Their trademark product, the Sexual Performance Booster, is every man's solution for increased blood flow, stamina, and performance. It's like a pre-workout, but for sex. All ingredients have been assessed in peer-reviewed journals. All ingredients have been studied and researched in humans. It comes in a palm-sized packet like your favorite electrolyte powder. Simply mix with 6 to 8 ounces of water for 45 minutes before sexual activity and watch the magic unfold, literally. Go to tryjoymode.com/bucknuts and get 20% off with code bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code bucknuts at tryjoymode.com/bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. All right, if you guys are still out there, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to all of you. Game week is here. Keep it locked to Bucknuts all week. Thanks again, everybody. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.